American Express's new change might not be a thing at all. Banks are increasing credit lines, but should we be concerned? And there's a new startup offering 8%, but is it a scam? This and more in today's credit card and points roundup. Before we dive in, big favors to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm, especially for the first story. And if you know anyone else that might benefit from this, share this with them. A few months ago, Mark made a video about a potential new rule for American Express intro bonuses.
The rep then said, I see that the charges are for tax payments. These charges are not eligible as it is considered as cash equivalent.
Right off the bat, this is nothing against Mark. I think in his shoes, given the information he had and what he was told, it's a pretty reasonable stance. I personally was a bit skeptical given my time in the space and how many different daily discussions I've read. Main takeaway, I'm leaning towards this being bad luck, wrong merchant code, or virtual card technical issues, or maybe having to do with the no lifetime language rather than it necessarily being a new rule. Over the weekend, a lot of you shared an interesting data point that was on Reddit from Aussie Jeff. This whole journey started a while back when he tried to make a tax payment through TurboTax on his American Express Business Gold using the instant card number. Despite hitting the $10,000 minimum spend requirement, he didn't get a sign-up bonus. He chatted with multiple customer service reps who said that the spend didn't count. This was exactly the same thing that happened to Mark. The crazy thing is that American Express's own marketing emails state that you can earn rewards through tax payments. And in fact, that was one of the main arguments in my video. My most recent personal card by the numbers was June 20th. Towards the bottom of the email, they have a similar advertisement saying that you can earn rewards on your tax expenses. Okay, so you know you're right, but the chat reps are not being helpful. What can you do? He ended up filing a complaint that the decision was contradictory to American Express's terms and marketing. And I know some people are against making complaints, but if you're in the right, you probably should do it. Fast forward a month and he got some bad news. Per his online chat, the case was closed. They reiterated that eligible purchases do not include federal income tax payments because those are considered person to person. He rightfully surmised that the next step would be a CFPB complaint. For the purpose of credit card points and bank rewards, you can think of the CFPB as the final arbiters. I guess technically you can sue them or take them to small claims court, but it's just not worth your time. And oftentimes when you sue the banks, they'll shut down your accounts. CFPB complaints though are fine and are not going to raise any flags. If you feel like the bank is misinterpreting something that's otherwise relatively clear, then you can file a complaint and it generally takes about 2 to 3 weeks. Submissions are pretty straightforward as well and probably will take you about 5 to 10 minutes. I've only had to do this twice and you can pretty much just write up your reasoning and explain stuff and show the sources. Okay, back to Jeff, what happened to him? After he filed a complaint, they got back to him. We found an issue which may have impacted your promotional offer. The 130K MR points for spending $10,000. They're taking all necessary steps to resolve this matter. Even more importantly though is the fact that they addressed that their reps were wrong. We found that we did not always provide accurate information. We incorrectly told you that tax payments do not qualify for MR points during your call with us. Okay, 3 main takeaways. Number 1 is that tax payments do earn points and count towards the minimum spend requirement for intro bonuses. Number 2, don't be afraid to file complaints, especially if you're following the rules for the promotions and you're in the right. Number 3, customer service reps don't always know what they're talking about. Sometimes they can't tell you the rule because they either aren't allowed to, or maybe they don't even know it. In a lot of ways, they're pretty much acting like AI robots and they have to read from a script. On a side note, I think Ben and I might be doing the same video today, so there's that. Okay, so what does this mean for you? If you're someone that has lower spend, then this is still an avenue to hit minimum spend requirements for intro bonuses. If you're someone that runs a business or you have a side hustle, whether YouTube or Uber, you need to make quarterly payments anyways, so that's already in your flow. Depending on your risk tolerance, some people also withhold taxes and then just make payments every quarter. For example, the deadline to pay your taxes that are associated with Q3 is September 15th. The idea being that you avoid the penalties and interest as long as you pay the right amount that you're supposed to withhold by those deadlines. For example, let's say you're supposed to pay $15,000 per quarter in taxes. That's what's normally withheld. If you withhold 0, then just pay the $15K by those deadline dates. Again, pretty standard if you're self-employed or you own your own business, but it might not be worth the headache if you have to submit forms to HR. Some people also overpay by a bit because they expect a tax liability to come up, but you are kind of giving the government an interest-free loan. For example, let's say I know I'm getting a distribution later this year, but that's not going to have any taxes withheld. I can actually overpay that right now to hit that intro bonus. Anything that you overpay ends up getting refunded on your tax return. There is an opportunity cost, but for most people, it tends to be worth it. On that note, if you want to learn about American Express cards or pretty much any other cards out there and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, AskSabby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that the cards make sense for you, but otherwise, it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Also, if you are going for the Platinum card, I'd recommend checking Card Match to see if you have an elevated offer. If you search for Ask Sebi Card Match, it should pop up, and I'll also link it down below. Moving into a lightning round, if you are someone that has the Platinum card, note that they are increasing the Trio Premium Bundle price from $19.99 to $24.99 starting on October 12, 2023. Reminder that this includes Disney Plus and Hulu with no ads, and ESPN with ads. The Platinum Digital Entertainment credit is $240 divided by 12 months is $20 per month. If you have this and you don't want to pay much out of pocket, then change to a different plan. One option is going to be the Trio Basic, which is going up to $14.99, but still under $20. That one does have ads for everything though, so it might be a skip. If you don't care about sports, you can get Disney Plus and Hulu with no ads for $19.99. For a lot of people, I think that's going to be the sweet spot. If you want to try out a new brokerage, you can get up to 16 free stocks from Moomoo. Depositing 100 gets you 5 stocks, 1,000 gets you 15, and 5,000 gets you 15, and either a share of Tesla or Google. For a lot of people, the sweet spot's probably 100 or 1,000. You do need to maintain the asset level for 60 days to unlock the stock, but pretty reasonable. Put another way, you're getting rewarded for trying out a brokerage. Link down below if you want to check it out and support the channel. If you're looking to travel, Hyatt has a pretty good promotion where you can get 15% off. This is going to be for reservations that are made between September 6, 2023 and February 28, 2024. Stays can be between September 6, 2023 and until December 31st, 2024. Call me crazy, but that feels like a surprisingly big window. Special codes are either Go Jalen 15 or Touchdown. There are a bunch of exceptions for Ziva, Zalara, Merval, MGM, so be aware of that, but for the most part, their core properties are going to be fine. Note that they might also pull the offer sooner. If you have trips coming up, this is a great promotion and I book sooner rather than later. On the note of hotels, a few of you mentioned that you have 50k nights expiring. So we're currently in this boat, but reading the comments, a lot of you are as well. That includes Rick, Zach, and also Ben. To my credit, it's technically not my night expiring, it's Mandy's, but arguably the same thing. Reminder number 1 is that you can top off with 15,000 points, so if you have a 50k certificate, that's up to 65k points if you have enough Bonvoy points. Number 2, I would use it for a staycation somewhere nice, and if you have a player 2, that's a pretty good excuse. For my research, there's 5 good ones that are near us. Also, a lot of them do have limited saver availability, so if you're looking afterwards, it might be gone. This includes the W San Francisco, the Ritz-Carlton Santa Barbara, JW Marriott Palm Springs, JW Marriott Live, and also the Marriott Napa Valley. For example, the JW Desert Springs is about 55,000 points. Napa Valley Marriott does have a few dates that work for under 65. Same thing weirdly enough for the WSF. A lot of the times it is 85k and up, but we are seeing some crazy 42k nights. JW LA Live is a pretty good option and another good hotel. If you have a player 2, probably a good idea to have a Notion doc or spreadsheet to consolidate accounts because sometimes it can get lost. But generally pretty good, but I am scared to lose value. On the note of being scared, a lot of publications are warning people about banks increasing credit lines. I'm glad that they found a user persona that represents us. Sheldon's credit limit increased from $6,000 to $20,000 since 2017 on one of his cards, which is about 7 years. Not surprised though, because banks tend to trust you more over time, and he probably increased his income. He's also been using points to fly first class to London, Frankfurt, and Copenhagen, and also does not use a debit card. As long as they're not changing your spending behavior based off the credit limit, I think that's fine. I think for a lot of us, we know that it's not money we have, credit limit's there, but it's more a tool. The rest of the article feels a bit like fear-mongering, but that's just me. For example, they did raise limits on 18.4 million credit card accounts in the first quarter of this year, and that's up 22% from the same period in 2019. For most people, as limits increased, spend also increased because people spent about 8% of their limit. At the same time, what happened between 2019 and 2023? No, not that, but inflation. In fact, something that would cost $20 in 2019 would now cost you about $24. So if you had a card that had a $1,000 limit, you'd expect the limits to go up to account for this inflation. So no, I don't think the banks are trying to trap card people to make them spend more. It's just a function of the economy. If anything, I would love to hear from you guys what credit limits you have, because I think there are people out there that would be surprised and kind of mind blown to hear that people have like $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 in credit limit who don't actively use it. Just because you have credit limit doesn't mean you have to go out and go shopping tomorrow. But yeah, sanity check down below to make sure that we're on the same page. The last one is Venti, which is a startup that's offering 8% APY. Okay, sounds great. What's the catch? The assets are FDIC insured, which is fine. The interest is accrued as points, where 1 point equals $1 towards travel. You can only use points towards travel purchases that are through their platform. Okay, so that makes sense. They're pretty much paying you out in interest, but the interest has to be used through their platform and has to be for travel. Also, I don't have any affinity of the company. I think it was just interesting to look into because it is an interesting concept. My fear though is that it's a going concern and just doesn't make sense in the long term. Let's say you put the maximum of $50,000. At 8% interest, that's $4,000 towards travel. The current Fed rate is 5.5%, meaning that they would make about $2,750 from your $50,000. In effect, their spread is 2.5%, and at $50,000, that's $1,250. $1,250 is a pretty high customer acquisition cost, but they're not paying you out in cash. Expedia and other travel platforms make between 15 to 30%. In this case, they're earning $4,000 in travel, and if you book travel through their platform, best case they make 30%, so they make $1,200. $1,250 customer acquisition cost minus $1,200 is about a $50 net CAC. If you factor in that they plan to charge people $40 per year in the long term, the math does surprisingly work out. It also sounds like they're above board given that they're partnered with Cross River as well as Evolve, which are standards within the fintech stack. It sounds great, but I wouldn't recommend it, and I don't think I would sign up myself because I'm not sure that they would deliver. The moment we see interest rates drop, they're going to probably lower their rates and people are going to get pissed off. Unless I'm completely missing something. Putting on my venture capital hat, I think it's an interesting wedge and an interesting product, but just tough. A lot of companies will use a product idea, hype it up to build an email list in order to raise money, but then maybe they don't deliver. Tech investing is super interesting because there's a gigantic graveyard of companies and a lot of them just don't make it out. Also, if you are looking to do more tech investing, but ones at a later stage and lower risk ideally, then I'd look into Sandhill Markets. It's one of the companies that I've been using myself to buy pre-IPO shares in companies. For example, if you want to buy Stripe, Epic Games, OpenAI, or Notion, then this is one of the best ways. You do need to be an accredited investor, so it's not for everyone, but I think it's a pretty good platform. Link down below if you want to check it out. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, asksabi.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a robot emoji in the comments down below and I'll try to heart it and also respond. My question for you is, what are your thoughts on the whole American Express situation, and do you think they're going to change this in the future? Also, what are your thoughts on Venti? Is it something you would use or is it a pass? Also, let me know if there's any other stories that you want me to cover in future videos because I think that's always interesting. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this with a friend, but otherwise hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.